Scorpio, listen, there is a quiet weight you've been carrying for so long that you started calling it normal. You wear it like perfume, you move with it like a second spine, and you can keep pretending it's fine, you can keep smiling through it, you can keep staying busy so you don't have to hear it. But your soul has been sending the same message again and again, and it's getting louder now. Not because you're failing, because you're finally ready. This is the moment where the thing you've avoided stops waiting politely in the background and steps into the center of your life, not to punish you, but to free you, like a locked door that opens only when you stop fighting the key. You already know what I mean, don't you? That strange pressure under your calm, that heaviness that appears when everything should feel okay. That sudden tightness in your chest when you're alone at night. The way your mind replays old scenes like it's trying to solve a mystery your heart has refused to name. Scorpio, you can read other people like open books. You can walk into a room and feel the truth under the truth. You've been brave enough to face storms that weren't even yours. But the one thing that scares you most isn't outside of you. It's inside, and it's not a monster. It's a memory, a pattern, a wound, a desire, a truth you buried so deeply you convinced yourself you outgrew it. You didn't bury it because you're weak. You buried it because you're intelligent. Because somewhere along the way, you learned that vulnerability could be used as a weapon against you. You learned that being too honest made you a target. You learned that softness invited disappointment, so you became skilled at control. You became the master of emotional architecture, walls, exits, hidden rooms, guarded gates. You don't just protect your heart, Scorpio, you protect the map to your heart. And people mistake that for coldness. But you and I both know the truth. You're not cold. You're heat behind a vault door. Here's the strange part. Armor doesn't only block pain, it blocks healing too. It keeps wounds safe long after they're ready to breathe. And you've carried this for years, so long that you've adapted around it. You've built routines around it. You've chosen relationships around it. You've shaped your voice around it. Some of you became the strong one, the dependable one, the silent one, the one who never needs anything. Not because that's who you truly are, but because it felt safer than letting anyone see the trembling underneath. But the universe, life, God, whatever name you use for the great intelligence moving behind your days, it is not fooled by the mask. It watches what you avoid. It watches how you swallow words you needed to say. It watches the moment your intuition rises and you push it back down with logic. It watches how you distract yourself with ambition, with tasks, with intensity, with scrolling, with silence. And the message it's sending now is simple. Hiding is costing you more energy than healing ever will. Avoidance is heavier than truth, and the version of you that you've been forcing yourself to remain is starting to suffocate you. So yes, Scorpio, this feels cosmic, inevitable, overdue, because it is. The pattern is repeating again. The same emotional theme is circling back like a comet returning to the sky. Conversations you avoided are resurfacing. Old triggers are knocking on the door. Your body is reacting more strongly than usual. Your patience is thinner. Your sleep is strange. Your dreams are vivid, symbolic, sometimes unsettling. Your nervous system is buzzing like it's been waiting for something to finally happen. And you might call it stress, or hormones, or a phase, or just life. But your soul calls it timing. Let me say something that may sting a little, but only because it's true. You haven't been avoiding people. You've been avoiding yourself, not the whole you, the you that functions, the you that performs, the you that survives. You've been avoiding a specific part of you, A younger part, a tender part, a part that learned a lesson in pain and never got the chance to unlearn it. The subconscious doesn't negotiate, Scorpio. It doesn't forget. It waits, it watches, it stores, and eventually it reaches a point where it refuses to stay buried, because buried things don't disappear, they ferment, they become pressure, they become anxiety without a name, they become mood swings that don't make sense. They become restlessness, irritation, numbness, isolation, and that quiet thought, why am I not happier even when things are okay? That is your shadow knocking, not a demon, not a curse, a messenger. And the shadow isn't bad. The shadow is simply the parts of you that were forced into hiding to keep you safe. The shadow can be fear of abandonment, the terror that if you show your whole heart, someone will walk away the moment you're real, so you leave first. Or you keep distance, or you turn intensity into a test. If they can survive my storms, then maybe they're safe. For others, the shadow is anger you swallowed because you had to be the mature one, the calm one, the controlled one. For many of you, it's grief, a loss, a betrayal, a childhood loneliness, a moment where your trust shattered, and you quietly decided, never again. And Scorpio, survival can keep you alive, but it cannot make you whole. Survival is a bunker, destiny is a house with windows. You weren't born to live behind walls forever. You were born to transform. That's your signature, rebirth. But nobody tells you the cost of rebirth. Something has to die. Not your body, your illusion. The old identity shaped by fear. The outdated version of yourself that was built for a past threat that isn't even present anymore. You've been wearing strength like armor, but strength isn't armor. Real strength is the ability to take the armor off without collapsing. Real strength is being honest when the old you would have disappeared. That's why this moment feels so intense, because the universe is not cornering you to break you, it's cornering you to break you open. And once you face the thing you've been avoiding, something extraordinary happens. Quietly at first, like a shift in gravity. It begins in a single breath. That breath where your body exhales in a way it hasn't in years. The breath where something unclenches in your chest. The breath where the weight you've been carrying suddenly feels separate from you, like it belonged to a story you're finally done living. You might cry not because you're falling apart, because you're safe enough to release. Scorpio, tears are not evidence of weakness. Tears are evidence that your nervous system is finally allowed to soften, and when you soften, you regain something you didn't even realize you lost. Clarity. A clarity so sharp, it feels almost supernatural. You start to see the map of your past with clean eyes. You understand why you reacted the way you did, why you chose emotionally unavailable people, why you mistrusted kindness, why you sabotaged softness, why you confused intensity with intimacy, why you pulled away from love the moment it felt real. You realize you weren't cold. You were guarding something warm. You weren't detached. You were protecting something fragile. You weren't too much. You were carrying too much alone. And here's where it gets beautiful. Once you finally face it, your intuition becomes clean again. For a long time, your intuition has been doing overtime, strained by unprocessed emotion, distorted by fear, mixed with old trauma. That's when intuition starts to look like paranoia. That's when your gut screams danger in rooms that are simply unfamiliar. But after release, your inner voice returns to its purest form, steady, calm, precise. You can tell the difference between discomfort and danger. You can tell the difference between a true red flag and an old trigger. You can hear sincerity in someone's voice without needing to interrogate it. You can feel truth without needing to test it. You also gain energetic detachment. And I don't mean I don't care. I mean the kind of detachment that frees you from emotional captivity. People who once had power over your mood suddenly lose that grip. Habits that controlled you lose their flavor. Situations that triggered you can't access your fear anymore. You stop replaying conversations. You stop spiraling. You stop carrying responsibility for everyone else's emotions. You realize how much energy you gave away simply because you were trying not to feel your own truth. And once you reclaim it, nobody can weaponize it against you, because what's owned cannot be used to control you. Then comes the spiritual part, the part that feels like a door opening inside your ribs. For the first time in a long time, you feel yourself coming back to yourself. Not the armored self, not the performance, the true self, the one that existed before the wound. You remember what it feels like to desire without fear, to hope without suspicion, to imagine a future without bracing for disappointment, and you start to feel life moving toward you instead of away from you. Alignment. That word gets used casually, but for Scorpio, alignment is rare and sacred. When you become aligned, destiny moves faster. This is the part people don't expect. Your internal healing forces, external rearrangement, not because you manifested with perfect thoughts, but because your frequency changed. You're no longer broadcasting the signal of survival. You're broadcasting the signal of truth, and the world responds. The first sign is people behaving differently around you. The ones who used to drain you feel the access is gone. Not because you're harsh, but because you're clear. They grow distant, uncomfortable, even avoidant. Meanwhile, the people meant for your future begin appearing with a strange sense of ease. You recognize them not by familiarity, but by resonance. Your soul stops choosing based on trauma and starts choosing based on truth. And your relationship world reorganizes itself accordingly. Your environment shifts too. Opportunities that were blocked begin moving with unusual speed. Work, money, direction, clarity. Things that felt stagnant start to move like someone removed an invisible barricade. You might get a message that arrives at the exact moment you needed it. An offer, an invitation, a chance, a door. It doesn't feel random, it feels designed, and that's because it is. Because healing closes karmic leaks. When you stop leaking energy into avoidance, life has more fuel to move you forward. But let's be honest, Scorpio. Receiving the next chapter is not always easy. Sometimes the hardest part isn't suffering, it's letting good things stay. Some of you have been in survival mode for so long that peace feels suspicious. Joy feels like a trick. Safety feels like the calm before the storm. So even when life improves, your body flinches. That doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It means your nervous system learned to live braced. And now it's learning a new language. Softness without fear. So here's what I want you to do, not as a performance, not as a superstition, but as a quiet practice of returning to yourself. Start naming what you feel, not perfectly, honestly. When you feel that tightness, ask, what am I protecting? When you feel the urge to withdraw, ask, what am I afraid will happen if I stay present? When you feel anger, ask, what boundary was crossed? When you feel numb, ask, what pain am I refusing to touch? Scorpio, this is how you turn the shadow into wisdom. This is how you transform without destroying yourself. And if you need a simple anchor, choose one sentence you can live inside for a while. Something gentle but firm. Something that tells your body it is safe to evolve. Say, I am safe to tell the truth. Or, I am allowed to heal. Or, I don't have to survive love anymore. Repeat it the way you would repeat a prayer, not because it's magic, but because repetition rewires. The more your body hears safety, the more it begins to believe it. There is also a specific kind of courage Scorpio needs, the courage to stop confusing control with protection. Control is not protection. Control is fear wearing a crown. Protection is boundaries, honesty, discernment, and self-respect. You don't need to control every outcome to be safe. You need to trust your ability to respond. That's the real power. The kind of power that says, even if I get hurt, I will not abandon myself again. Because that's what this is really about, Scorpio. It's not about a person you can't forget. It's not about the conversation you've postponed. It's not about the memory that keeps surfacing. Those are symptoms. The core is deeper. You have been carrying a part of yourself that you left behind in a moment of pain. And now life is giving you the chance to go back, not to relive it, but to retrieve you, to reclaim the part of your soul that learned to hide, to bring it into the light. Integration, wholeness, the end of running. If you're still listening right now, there's a reason. Not everyone can sit with this kind of truth without turning away. Scorpio energy is rare because it has the stomach for transformation. You don't just want comfort, you want truth. And truth is what sets you free. So I want you to take a quiet moment and ask yourself something with ruthless tenderness. What have I been avoiding for years? Not the surface answer, the deeper one. What emotion have you been refusing to feel? What truth have you been delaying? What version of yourself have you been starving because you were afraid of what it might change? You don't have to write it publicly, but if you feel called, leave a simple signal in the comments, something like, I'm ready, or I choose healing. Because when you speak your readiness, you stop negotiating with your own transformation. You become an active participant instead of a silent passenger. And Scorpio, once you participate, everything accelerates. This is where you rise, not with loud revenge, not with dramatic declarations, with quiet sovereignty, with an unshakable peace that doesn't beg to be understood, with a clarity that cuts through manipulation like light through fog, with a heart that is no longer trapped behind armor because it finally trusts itself. You will still be deep, you will still be intense, but the intensity will stop being defense. It will become devotion to your truth, your growth, your destiny. And when you rise like this, your life changes in ways people can't explain. It's in how you walk into rooms, in how you say no without guilt, in how you stop over-explaining, in how you stop shrinking your needs, in how you stop picking emotional puzzles when you deserve emotional safety, in how you stop proving your worth to people who benefit from your doubt. You won't need to announce your transformation. Your energy will do it for you. So let this be the moment you stop running. Let this be the moment you stop making yourself small to stay safe. Let this be the moment you take the armor off, slowly, kindly, without shame, and you discover something stunning underneath. You are not broken. You were protecting something precious, and now it's time to protect it in a new way. Not by hiding, by healing. As we close, hold this gently. This message is not a command, and it's not a prophecy carved in stone. It's a mirror, one possible timeline, one sacred story offered to your intuition. Keep what feels true. Let the rest pass like a cloud across a wide sky. Let this be encouragement, not pressure, a lantern, not a leash. If anything here touches something tender in you, consider it a sign that your inner world is waking up. And if you're moving through heavy emotions or old wounds, please be kind to yourself and reach for real support where you can. Trusted friends, grounding practices, or a professional who can hold space with you, because your healing deserves both spirit and structure. And Scorpio, if you've carried this for years, if you've survived more than you've admitted, if you've been strong for too long, then hear me clearly. You are allowed to rise without suffering first. You are allowed to face it and still be loved. You are allowed to heal and still be powerful. And the moment you finally face what you've been avoiding is the moment your life begins to return to you.